All right, Clayton, we've got a lot of good stuff to go over with you today, but before we dive in, is there anything you would like to go ahead and go over today or feedback or input you'd like to go before we cover our stuff?
Not not really, other than I was wondering more on how you could and we were probably working on that as because I had already mentioned it before as far as getting the employees to think for themselves or whatever. Um,
Yepper. Did you get a chance to get any of their personalities?
I haven't, nope.
Okay. That is the number one thing. Once we get their personalities, we will open up a world to you because each of the different personalities is motivated to think for themselves in very different ways.
Okay. And that is that what you sent me last week, the whole cube, all those.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking
exactly.
about to get the.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I will try to get that done
Cool. And
here,
you
here in
can,
this next week.
yeah, and you can do that on your wife and kids and family and whatever. So it's not just your employees. The more people you can get that done on, the more experience, the better you'll get at it. But yeah, the employees, so each of the different, you don't happen to have that printed out, do you, on the personalities?
No, I think I just got that saved here.
Okay. Are you able to bring it up where you can see it or not?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can go to page um 4, if you
Okay.
can go to page 4 where it says personality survey, and then it has the four shapes, and then it has the four, out of control, out of order, out of control, boring or not fun or conflict.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you see that there?
Yeah.
Okay. So the driver personality, the pyramid, and the out of control. So those are driver
Okay.
personalities.
Pyramid and
The out of control.
okay. Gotcha.
So if somebody chooses the pyramid, they're a driver. And if they choose out of control, they're a driver. So sometimes they match up. For me, I chose the pyramid as number 2, but I chose out of control as number 1. So
Okay.
sometimes they match, sometimes they don't. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It just is what it is. So
Yeah. Okay.
the geometric psychology test, that's kind of, it's almost innate who maybe God created us in our mother's womb to be, is
Yeah.
the geo test. The pain quadrant test is how we respond to pain, frustration,
Okay.
anger, when we get upset. What causes us pain? How do we respond to pain? So the driver personality, they're the ones that typically are going to be the natural leaders. So they're aggressive in task. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to figure it out. They want to go after it. So these are your kind of natural leaders, the pyramids or out of control. So
Okay.
that personality just has natural skills to take initiative.
Okay.
The analytic, which is the cube or out of order. So if somebody chooses a cube or out of order, that's the analytic personality.
Okay.
And that personality will tend to have a hard time taking initiative, seeing the big picture. They're going to be more tentative. They're going to be more guarded. They don't want to make mistakes. So
Okay.
the driver personality, they make a lot of mistakes in life, and everybody sees them. Like, and they just get used to it. Hey, that's part of learning. It's why they learn so fast. The analytic, they make as many mistakes as the driver does, personality, but nobody knows it. Nobody sees it, including them. Because the mistakes they're making are, you can't learn from the mistakes they're making. The driver makes mistakes by doing something, and then it's like, oh, I did it wrong. The analytic makes mistakes by not doing something.
Okay.
So the analytic, what you do with them is you help them to realize and help them to overcome the fear of their ego and looking bad. You have to teach them that mistakes are okay. It's a part of learning.
Yeah.
Like when a toddler, starts to walk and they fall, nobody says, "Oh, you fell, you'll never walk again in your life." Like as adults, we tend to go ahead and everybody judges us, we judge other people, and we become less tolerant of mistakes, and we don't understand the whole purpose of mistakes. It's to learn it's okay.
Yeah.
So the analytic, you have to teach them, you have to rewire their brain to
Okay.
think and to think in a different way.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah.
the analytic tends to have a lot of self-righteous issues, a lot of pride issues. So they see everybody else's mistakes, but they struggle with seeing their own.
Okay.
And so they think they're really smart. Intellectually, they are smart. They know a lot of information, but they don't do a lot often with the information. So they often get themselves in positions in a job, in a work, in a career where they can criticize other people.
Okay.
The amiable personality, that's the ball or the
Okay.
conflict with others. So that personality, one of their greatest strengths is their concern, compassion for people. And so they will also have a hard time making mistakes, but for a very different reason. The analytic doesn't want to look bad. The amiable doesn't want to let you down.
Okay.
So they're super, super hypersensitive to letting you down. So they won't
Yeah.
take risk. They won't take initiative often. So again, you have to rewire their brain where, like the analytic, you're teaching them not making mistakes is making mistakes. You're making the mistake. Like you're not that smart if you're not doing something. Talking about it, theorizing, pontificating, criticizing others, that's not really that smart of a person. A smart person is going to go ahead, an intellectual, somebody who's really smart, they're going to do stuff. So you teach the
Yeah.
analytic to reprogram their brain to say you're smart when you're doing, not when you're talking or thinking.
Okay.
The amiable, you teach that employee, you teach that employee that you're you're not a nice person by not doing things. So they think they're when they have fear they're going to mess up, they think I'm being nice by not messing up. And it's like, no, you're actually not. So you go ahead and say, it means a lot to me for you to take initiative. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Just tell me and we'll figure out how to prevent it, clean it up, and how to prevent it from happening in the future.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
And so the expressive personality, they're like the driver personality in that they're more assertive. So the two on the right, the pyramid and the wavy line, the driver and the expressive, they're more assertive. They're more aggressive. The driver personality is more aggressive with task and getting tasks done. The expressive personality is more aggressive with people.
Okay.
And then the on the left-hand side, the analytic and the amiable, they're less assertive. So they're more cautious in everything they do. The expressive, like the driver, will tend to make a lot of mistakes. But they're used to it
Okay.
and they're like whatever. And so in business, you have the perfect blend between quantity and quality. If you have high quality without a lot of quantity, you don't make a lot of money in business.
Yeah.
If you have a high quantity without quality, that's not good either.
Yep.
And so the driver, the pyramid, and the wavy line, those two tend to be really naturally good with quantity. They're just fast.
Okay.
The analytic and the amiable, they tend to be high on quality. So they're slower, but they tend to do better work.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now, with my personality, I'm a driver, analytic driver. So I'm a cube, pyramid, pyramid, cube. So my expectation is, I want to do everything fast and perfect. So I'm
Okay.
the driver analytic driver is going to be a machine. They're probably one of the most productive employees you could ever have in getting tasks done. They're not concerned about people being happy. They're not concerned about fun. All they want to do is just do tons of quantity and quality. They're just monsters. And
Gotcha.
so
Yeah.
understanding somebody's primary personality, secondary, understanding their geo and their pain. So once you get all of your employees, once you get them all mapped out on this, then we're going to be able to go through each of your employees and we'll be able to teach them how to go ahead. We're going to teach you how to help them to be more productive, to take greater initiative, to work faster, or to work better, higher quality. We will likely be able to tell you about your employees without ever meeting them what their problems are.
Okay.
It's pretty weird. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questions
I
on
can
that?
see that. Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Um, and then did you get a chance to go ahead and do you have your action vision plan there with you printed out?
Ye- Yeah, you mean the one from last week?
Yeah.
Yep, I do. But like I said, then it's some of it I can't read having it printed out
Gotcha. Are you
because
able
it's
to kind of see the first column? There's 12 columns on the right. Can you see the first column?
yeah,
And at the top of the first column, you'll see 0%. Do you see that?
yeah,
And
yep,
then 46%, and then 21%, and then 25%.
okay,
The 25%, that's what's called your benchmark number. Before you do any coaching, you're doing 25% of your action vision plan currently.
okay,
It's about average. Typically the plans are somewhere between 15 and 30%. So you're right in where the average. So you're doing 25% of your plan. That top number where it says 000%, that actually should be 25%. We're actually talking to the computer people and they're figuring out why it's not displaying up there. It's calculating it right. It's just not displaying it right. The second number is 46%. So you're on
okay,
track to do 46% of the 3.5 million.
okay,
And so you're at a 21% positive variance. You're doing 25% of the plan, and you're getting on track to make 46% of the your goal, your wow income goal, your wow sales goal. So if this percentage held true, you would need to do 79% of your plan to get to 100% of your goal. So what this does is it correlates your efforts to your results. Now, normally over a 12-month period of time, there's a positive 4% variance. So normally somebody has to get, if they do 90% of the plan, they'll get 94% of the results. If they do 50% of the plan, they get 54% of the results. So it's literally measures mathematically your efforts and the results that they're producing.
Okay.
So again, but it takes a few months to go ahead and get good readings. And so this gives us a good reading. It's a starting point on what it is.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So in future weeks in coaching, what we can do is there's a couple ways we can do it. We could take each week, we could just go down like today, we could cover maybe action 1-2 and 1-3. And we can just give you coaching information on how to do these better. So that's one way to do it. And each week we just go through, 2 or 3 of these and help you understand them and what to do better.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The other option is you can kind of study them. And if if you'd prefer, like if you could tell us and say, hey, Mark, can you go over 1-8, 1-11, 1-17? If you come and you say, hey, can you talk about any one of these? Then we can do that.
Okay.
So either one of those is fine. So the goal is to go ahead and get systems in place where 1-2 through 1-20, actually 1-21. So 1-2 through 1-21, the goal is to go ahead and get, so you remember back maybe with the X-ray, the business X-ray, there's
Yeah.
there's 6 ways you can get the work done, Clayton. So you can do the work yourself, but if you do that, you'll end up owning a job rather than a company.
Yeah.
Or you can delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner with someone to do it. So
Gotcha.
1-2 through 1-21, you can delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner with someone to do all of those. Obviously, date night with your wife or time with your kids or your own personal growth, you can't delegate any of that. You got to do that yourself.
Yep.
But you can get help. So probably I think it's been about 15 years, I contract with EVAs, executive virtual assistants. It might be something you might want to look into at some point as well. And so executive virtual assistants, what they help me do is they help me with everything. So, they will go ahead and, on birthdays or anniversaries, they'll actually get gifts for my wife on my behalf. My wife knows this and she's okay with it. She's appreciative that somebody's doing it. I've even had EVAs set up long weekends for me. I've even had EVAs call my children and, ask my children 1-10, how would you rate your dad as a dad? What do you like most about your dad? What would be one thing your dad could improve on? So even though I'm doing the work, I'm having other people help me to keep on track on those things, just like I do in business, because those things are more important than even the business things. So I get help on those things.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
On the left, if you go to 1-2 and you see on the left, you can see an open space, and that's where you can delegate, you can write somebody's name there. So you could have employees or an EVA, you can have somebody else do these different things and be responsible for these systems. So the goal is to get, so there's no way you can do all 25 of these things every month yourself. So the goal is to get systems in place that you're not even doing the work, other people are doing it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, somewhat.
Gotcha. All right. So which of these do you want us to just start with 1, 2, and 3 today? Or would you like to go ahead and cover one of the other actions?
No, we could just start there. I think
Okay,
that's
cool. All right, good. So on cloning Clayton developed team members to become stronger, better, and more effective employees. So your first step on this one here, like how do you get a big check on this? So over on the right-hand side, you'll see different symbols. Well, actually, let's go to the top middle of your plan. Do you see 5, 2, and 0, and 2, 1, and 0 in the
yeah.
middle? So
Yep.
if it's a star, an asterisk, a snowflake, whatever, and you complete the action, it's a big check, and you get 5 points. If you go
Okay.
ahead and you work on an action, but you don't complete it during the month, you get a little check in the little box, and you get 2 points.
Gotcha.
If you don't do any work on the action, you get an X in the little box, and that's 0 points.
Okay.
The circle or the zero, whatever you want to call it, that's consistent actions. And again, we'll go over that a little bit more in future coaching sessions. And so if you complete that, you get 2 points. If you work on it, you get 1 point. And if you don't do anything on it, you get 0 points. So we go through, and every month at the end of the month or beginning of the next month for the previous month, we'll go through and score these things. Did you complete the action? Did you work on the action? Or did you not do anything on the action? Now,
Okay.
completing an action doesn't mean it's completed forever. It just means that you did what you knew you should do that particular month.
Okay.
For example, 1-2, if you got all of your team members' personalities, that could be what you need to do for December, and you could get a big check in that box. You completed what you should do.
Okay.
And so developing team members to become stronger, better, when we understand their personality, we understand their strengths, weaknesses, what they like, what they don't, turns them on, turns them off, if they're married, who they're married to, conflict of marriage. So if your employees are having a hard time taking initiative and doing things on their own at work, we know what's one of the things that irritates their wife at home, and that is that they're not taking initiative at home.
Okay.
So we have our personalities. Our greatest strength is our greatest weakness. Our greatest weakness is just our greatest strength misapplied is taking strength and carrying it too far. And so when we understand their personalities, which we'll teach, once you get it, we'll teach you the different personalities and how to go ahead and take each personality and motivate them with the goal of getting them to be self-motivated and self-disciplined.
Yeah. Okay.
In addition to that, Action Vision has literally millions and millions of dollars of tools and systems and resources, like massive libraries of resources. So there's other tools that we have that as we get into 1-2 that we can give you. So you want to have clear vision of where you want the company to go. You want to have your employees to have goals, their own personal goals, their own personal life vision, and have it connected into the company's life vision, the company's vision. So they
Yeah.
feel that they're connected into the company, and the company's helping them achieve their full potential, their full God-given potential, what they were created to be. And so there's tools that will help them to excel. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So we'll get into more of those. If you're able to have a 3-ring binder and hole punch everything, kind of organize it into different categories and stuff like that on everything we send you, that way we can reference the different things and you can go right to specific areas and we'll be able to then guide and walk you through everything.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
You bet. I should.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say I should be able to do that. So yeah.
Okay, good. 1-3 is systems to train team members, relieve more work from Clayton to free up for additional leadership and management roles. So, like a first assignment or first thing you could do on that is start to write down everything that you're doing.
Okay.
And then on a 1 to 10, you can rate what you're doing, like how difficult that activity is. So the more
Okay.
difficult the activity, the harder it probably is going to be to get other people to do it. So it might be some, you know, physical capability that you have. Like it might be a mental capability, it might be how experience or something like that. So what we'll do is in 1-3, we'll start to map out, you and figure out how, like, where did you develop your skills? So a lot of my skills in how I think as a 60-year-old came from being a son of my mom and dad. So I remember, I
Okay.
don't know, I was 5 or 6 years old, and my dad said, "Go clean the garage." And I went out there and I just stood there. I was overwhelmed. It was totally a mess. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. So I just stood there. About 5 minutes later, my dad came out and he's a pastor. He wasn't a yeller. I don't ever remember my dad yelling at me, but he was firm. Like I like he was firm. And he comes out and he's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? I said, "I'm cleaning the garage." He's like, "No, you're not. You're standing there. You're not doing anything." I said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm supposed to do." He says, "Mark, when you don't know what to do, do something." So it taught me, my analytic was, I don't want an amiable, I don't want to let my dad down. I don't want to mess something up. But what he taught me at a very young age is, well, if you're not sure what to do, just do something. Like it's easier to change the direction of a moving car than one that's standing still. So as business owners,
Okay.
we don't realize how much of how we think came from our mom and dad. And we kind of just think, well, other people have moms and dad. I'm sure that their parents taught them. They didn't.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is go back in literally to your childhood. We go back in and go back through your whole life and find stories. So Jesus, the way he got his disciples to do things is he told stories or parables. So as you tell stories to your employees, they'll remember those and they'll start to pick those up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
except I'm not a storyteller.
Good news. Good news. Neither am I. I mean, I hate stories. Do you have a minute for one story or you got to run?
Well, I do have somebody here already, but
That's fine. I'll bring it
yeah.
up next time. I got this really cool story that helped me to learn how to be a storyteller. So I'll share this with you at another time. Good work, Clayton. Have a blessed day.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so the debrief on this is, are you all thinking what I'm thinking?
I don't know, Mark. What are you thinking?
So there's going to be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that will be listening to this. Do you all realize this?
Didn't think that many, but yeah, figured some.
So they're all going to be thinking, man, I hope Mary Jo or hope Marla or hope Elaine asked the question I'm thinking, because so they're not going to be able to directly interact with me. So you guys, you ladies are all representing all the hundreds of thousands of people coming after you. So you want to make sure not to put any pressure on you, of course, but you want to make sure like like what I like what I taught, hopefully it hit home with all three of you. And Ginger Ann and Elise too, and Kenny and Luke and others who go through this. And so what I'm thinking is, yeah, I mean, all three of the ladies can, yeah, they can do this, no problem. Like they could do this next week. Is that what you were all thinking?
Yeah, not close.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Um, Mary Jo, it's okay to be different. Say, yeah, no, I was thinking that total thing. I could do this. Yeah. You're not that impressive, Mark. Yeah. No, I could do that. Um, Mary Jo, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so it's so back before EVAs, I had executive assistants, and there were four of them, and they all were full time, and they came over to my house, my home office, and they were with me all day. And for a month, all they did is watched me. It was a little weird. Um, and so for a month, they just watched me. I just do all the work I did at that time. I was running pretty hard. So I'd like 15 appointments a day. So now when I have three or four, it's like, I remember when literally 15 a day. And I mean, it wasn't one day a week. It was like 3, 4 days a week, maybe more. And it was month after month after month. And the first 2 weeks that they would shadow me, that they just sit there and watch and listen to everything I did. And they were overwhelmed and they were in awe. They're like, holy cow, the guy's a freaking genius. Like I don't know how they're overwhelmed. They're just like, wow. And then about week 3, what they did is they're like, oh, I see the patterns now. So it went from awe, like when you're a little kid, and if you're a girl and you look at your mom and say, how does she do all of this? Or a boy and you say, man, my dad is so strong, so smart, he does all of this. And then all of a sudden you start moving into teenagers and you say, I don't know if I'm that impressed with my mom, and I don't know if I'm that impressed with my dad. Um, that's what would happen in 3 weeks. So about 3 weeks, it would hit them, and they say there's patterns that he's doing. And that by week 4, they would start to pick up these patterns. And so because I'm not doing, 15 appointments a week, or 15 points a day. It's hard to immerse the three of you and give you, like, that was equivalent to maybe a year of training, maybe 3 years of training the way we used to do it. So it's not really practical. Even if you were able to be here 5 days a week, even if you were able to go ahead and be and watch over me 8 to 10 hours, I'm not doing the quantity of work that I used to do. So what you do is you look at a big picture from a driver perspective and say, what patterns do I see Mark doing? And so I see Mark immediately go into and build a system where all of his clients, he's tracking all of this stuff. So he's got all of this. So he's building a dashboard and he's got two of his clients going through almost the exact same thing. So that's good for them, good for me. So what he's doing is he's building systems to go through, and then he's inserting, a lot of stories. And he's explaining a lot of things. Now, in my mind, because I've done this for a long time, I'm thinking, I wonder if we could go ahead and put it into a workbook, like a 3-ring binder. Like, I wonder, like, how cool would it be rather than them having to build a binder? And it'd be good for them to gain the experience. But what if we gave them a binder, which we're going to do with Action Vision? But that binder's probably 20 years old. There's so much more that we've learned. So should we build a new binder? So should we go ahead? And that way you guys are just teaching out of like a lesson plan like Marla did in school. So you're just going and you get to choose kind of what you want to go over. I'm thinking, how do I systematize this? And then you can substitute your own stories if you want to, or you can use my stories. So you saw I used Tom Kuntz and his stories. So I have all these stories that I use because people remember stories and they're connected in. So after 33 years of doing this, why do I enjoy it so much? It's because I'm changing people's lives, and it's because it's still a challenge to me. How do I give more value? Like, how do I help them learn more faster? How do I help them absorb stuff? How do I help it change? How do I help them grow? Like, I want them to pick stuff up. And then how do I help each of you to do this? And then how do I develop systems to get 8+ billion people using this? So there's always a challenge. There's always something. It's always like more and bigger. And like, I'm never satisfied with what I've got. I always want to do better. Questions, Elaine?
No, I don't think so.
Marla?
Oh, makes sense.
Mary Jo?
Makes sense.
Okay.
We have
So
somebody that joined us.
So, let's see here. Okay. And so let me just finish this up and then welcome whoever has joined us. Glad you're here. So we haven't processed these videos and put them into the podcast library. Theoretically, I can go back and I can go ahead and do that. And so there's one thing that all three of you, I think, missed. Do you all know what it was? Like, you guys, like children, they hear what they want to hear and then they just black out when they don't want to hear it.
Arm belly rubs.
It's a specific thing. Like I told, pretty sure all three of you, that I wanted one of the three of you guys to do Luke's X-ray review.
And I'm doing that tonight.
You are, but when I
I
asked,
am.
yeah, I don't know, somebody is. So when I asked who's doing it, you said I'd planned, you, Mark, you were going to do it. I like, really, man, those girls are sneaky little girls. That's what I thought. So this stuff
Okay.
is kind of intimidating, but it's exciting. You guys will do a lot better than you think you will. Like, it's amazing what you're going to be able to do. So excellent work. You all are awesome. Appreciate you. Thanks. Bye.